Dalla parte per giocare da sola, perché più forte esa zona de mano. Acho que das coisas
What is good, team? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I suppose I'll take this opportunity to introduce myself, because I don't do that very often. So if you stumble across the page, I am an IFBB Classic Physique Pro. My name is Kyle. I've been competing for the better part of like 10 years. I've been coaching people for the better part of about 12 years, and I've been involved in the fitness industry for like close to 15 years. So I've been around the traps a little while, but basically the channel is really dedicated to, I guess, just helping you guys take your physique to the next level in any shape or form, whether that be training, whether it be supplementation, whether it be nutrition, whether it be all of the above. But specifically, the majority of my content is centered around fat loss, muscle gain, contest prep, all that sort of fun stuff. So I'm taking you guys through today an upper body session. This is my upper body push day one. So primary emphasis being chest. So if you are someone that wants to grow your chest, specifically upper chest, because we're doing a lot of upper chest today, then this video is perfect for you. And if you haven't already, it means the world to me if you show some love to the channel. So if you subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment if you do have any questions or any future videos that you want to see. But without further ado, on to our second exercise. I already started. I did flies first. I didn't really get to talk on the gym was a little bit busy. So flies, 2 sets. It was around 10 to 15 reps for both sets. Actually very, very hard. Kicking that one off first to really isolate the pecs as we move on to the more primary pressing movements. So this is probably my last warm up here, and then I'll get stuck into my first hard working set, probably 3 plates on here. Just kind of feeling this one. I haven't done it for a while. So a couple of reps here and then we'll get started. One set done, 12 reps there, one more working set to go. Probably, if I'm aiming to match that effort, that was probably like 2 RIR, maybe 1 RIR. So I think it's an important note to bring up. If you are looking to progress your training long term, and that's really how we build muscle, is long-term training progressions, is you don't necessarily need to be going to failure all the time. And I suppose you should be matching efforts as well. So if we're aiming to match effort on that, I'm just gonna get to whatever rep target I get to at around a 1 to 2 RIR. So for me, it's probably gonna be like 2 rep drop off, probably like 10 reps on this next set. And that'll allow me to just continue progressing for longer periods of time. So each week, I'm just either chasing reps once I get to the top end of that rep spread, and then I can just add some load and just rinse and repeat that process. And I think that's a really simple and effective way to progress your training long term to ensure you are building muscle. All right, so that's my 1 set of incline Smith done. That was supposed to be my second exercise, but I actually did it third. So pecs are already pretty fatigued after like one fly movement, one pressing movement. So just matching load for last week, still a win in my books. Considering like RR was the same, load was the same, technique was the same, but I did it later in the workout. So performance kind of felt nicely, which is great. And I suppose looking more broadly in terms of things that have directly contributed to growing my pecs over the last sort of probably 12 to 18 months, I think it's probably been one of my most improved body parts. It probably comes down to a couple of things. Main one being exercise selection, so choosing exercises that allow me the greatest opportunity for maximizing output. Incline Smith being one of those. It's very, very stable. It does give me the ability to drive lots of stimulus to the pecs because nothing else is really working other than some ancillary muscles like triceps and front delts because it's a pressing movement. Number two is probably technique and execution. So really utilizing, I suppose, a standardized technique where the only things working are my pecs in whatever exercise I'm doing. I'm not using any momentum, I'm not balancing, I'm not swinging, I'm not using shitty technique to just lift more load or do more reps. I'm directly training my pecs. And I suppose the last thing, and probably the most overlooked variable at the moment, is volume. In order to grow a muscle, you need like a decent amount of volume. And I think that volume needs to progress over a certain period of time. So you can't just like always grow on low volume. There will be a point at which you need to increase training volume. So for me, over the course of many, many mesocycles, volume has just slowly increased as well as loads, and technique has obviously just stayed standard. So for me, that's really like the three big things that you need to do in order to grow your pecs. So chest is done. We're moving on to the tricep portion and then some delts. So a big emphasis of this program is kind of biased towards like back and delts. So as you guys get through these videos, I'm putting out like one a week. So you'll basically see my whole training split, all 5 training days, and you'll notice a common theme. There is a lot of delts and a lot of back. And I suppose in terms of like training structure, on paper, it might look weird. And I think a lot of people sort of get confused when they see like random training splits that are, you know, a mix of like upper lower or push pull in the same session or whatever it might be. When in reality, like the training split doesn't really matter too much. It's just kind of an organizational tool to manage, I guess, performance, recovery, fatigue to a degree. And I guess in order to allow you to be able to train more frequently and do more volume, I suppose that's the kind of point that I want to bring up, is that's how you build muscle. And as a side tangent, if you guys are interested in how I train myself, my programming, my clients' programming, and just the things we do at Team Ultimate Physique Coach, go check out my training app, the Ultimate Physique app. There's a link down in the description below. You can try it for free for 7 days. We've got over 15 programs on the app that you can check out, all tailored towards different goals, different outcomes, and it's awesome, so go check it out. But I'll jump into this, 2 hard-working sets here, aiming for probably managing to get the same reps and same load as last week, because my triceps are already pretty fatigued after all that. So we'll jump in. So like I said, this session is a bit of a mishmash. It's technically a push session, but we did have obviously some chest isolations, 2 chest compounds. We had a tricep compound, moving on to some bicep isolations, and then we've got bicep, tricep isolations at the end. So a bit of everything. But again, like I said, in order to kind of increase overall training volume, in order to increase overall training frequency, in an effort to build up those specific areas, like I mentioned, my back, my delts, arms to a degree as well. We're training them quite frequently and with high volumes. And I suppose when it comes to specialization training phases, 99% of people don't need specialization phases. Everyone just needs to kind of grow evenly all over until you kind of get to that point in your career where you've maxed out your, I guess, physique potential, and there are glaring weaknesses or just areas that aren't as strong as others that you need to improve. You can spend time putting other areas on the back burner and then increasing volume, increasing frequency, and just increasing overall effort on specific muscle groups. So for me, my legs have always been a really strong point. I don't need to grow my legs. I can almost put my legs on maintenance. So in terms of volume allocation, it might be in the vicinity of like 6 to 10 working sets for quads and hamstrings combined throughout the week. And then the rest of my muscle groups might be in that sort of 10 to 20, maybe even 30 sets per muscle group per week, in an effort to really, really hammer progress and to build up those areas so that when it comes time to get on stage next time and to kind of rip off some body fat, we'll really notice the improvements in those areas. I think by far the best bicep building exercise is the single arm machine preacher curl. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. Number one, it's highly stable, so there is no way that you can cheat or use momentum in order to lift heavier or do more reps, because you are simply locked into the machine. Your arm is fixed on the pad, so you cannot move. Number two, it allows a really high output, especially being single arm. So we have something called a bilateral strength deficit when we do anything bilateral or both arms together, where the brain has to divert energy to two muscle groups as opposed to one. So training one arm at a time, we get lots more stimulus to the biceps, provided that we rest adequately between arms. So I would suggest that if you are doing it single arm, do your first side, maybe start with your weaker side first so you give it more priority. Rest a full 1 to 2 minutes, or as long as you need to kind of maintain or match your previous performance, and then move on to the opposite arm. So you aren't going into that set fatigue, because if you do go straight from one arm to the other, there is going to be a little bit of systemic fatigue that carries over, which will potentially limit your performance on the opposite side. So if you do have a lagging arm and you're always starting on that side and then repeating the effort on the opposite side, it may just kind of fall short in the long run. So if you do want to get the most out of these single arm preacher curls, just make sure that you are fully stretching the bicep in the bottom, pausing just before you fully lock out that elbow, squeezing up with a slow, controlled, concentric, so you do get a nice contraction at the top of the rep, and that you are not using momentum, you're not swinging, you're not dropping the bar down really, really fast. You're keeping all the tension on the biceps to maximize the stimulus and growth potential to the biceps.
Spam number.
All right, so last bicep exercise to finish off for this session. It's like the standing like Bayesian curl, or just standing face away cable curl. And I think it's a really fantastic exercise, especially to emphasize that big deep stretch. So a couple of tips for you guys to get the most out of those curls is make sure the cable's set at around wrist height, or maybe just below, so we do emphasize more of that lengthened portion. Take a big step forward, and you want to keep your shoulders back in extension so the biceps do stay stretched under load. And then just think about flexing the elbow as opposed to moving your shoulder from extension into flexion, because it's really going to emphasize more stimulus to the biceps, less overall fatigue to the delts, and you're just going to get more out of the exercise rather than just swinging the weight around, using your shoulders or using other ancillary muscles to kind of lift the weight without actually training the biceps. That about wraps us up, guys. 2 sets of the Bayesian curls, 2 sets of these single arm over the shoulder tricep extensions, and this upper body mishmash push chest biceps triceps session is done. So as always, guys, I appreciate the support so much on the channel. If you do get any value at all from the videos, it means the world to me. If you do like, comment, share, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. And if you guys are interested in checking out any of my training programs, you can check out the Ultimate Physique app. Link is in the description below. You can try all of my programs for free on the Ultimate Physique app. But until next time, guys, peace.